Welcome to the Invite Health podcast, where our degreed healthcare professionals are excited to offer you the most important health and wellness information you need to make informed choices about your health. You can learn more about the products discussed in each of these episodes and all that Invite Health has to offer at www.invitehealth.com/podcast. First-time customers can use promo code podcast at checkout for an additional 15% off your first purchase. Let's get started.
We've all experienced staying out late at night and partying, but still having to get up early the next morning to go to work. You could feel awful, miserable all day long. If you've ever burnt a candle at both ends like this, the supplement L-Tyrosine can help. L-Tyrosine can offset the mental grogginess, the grouchiness, the fatigue, so you don't feel awful all day. Now, just to be clear, L-Tyrosine is not a replacement for sleep, but on days when you have not had enough sleep, L-Tyrosine can combat mental fatigue. Hello, my name is Jerry Hickey. I'm a nutritional pharmacist. I'm also the senior scientific officer over here at Invite Health, which indicates we have a scientific department. We have naturopathic doctors, registered dietitians, and clinical nutritionists in this department. Now, let's get to tyrosine. When the going gets tough, tyrosine gets your brain going again. So why should tyrosine help mental fatigue? Now, let's discuss neurotransmitters. Our brain uses a wide variety of chemicals that makes it communicate messages. These chemicals are called neurotransmitters. Science knows approximately 100 of them. For instance, acetylcholine for memory, GABA to calm the brain, glutamate to excite the brain. So our body uses tyrosine to make very important neurotransmitters for mental alertness and focus. So L-tyrosine enters our brain easily, and it makes these important neurotransmitters. They're called dopamine and norepinephrine, and under certain situations it'll also make norepinephrine. If you have an emergency, that's also called adrenaline. It's used for fight or flight. So when released appropriately, the dopamine and norepinephrine foster really good things in the brain, like arousal, alertness, attention, motivation, anticipating and seeking a reward, but also, and importantly, reducing brain fatigue. So once again, L-tyrosine enters our brain easily. It's quickly converted into L-dopam, and L-dopa takes another step, and it's converted into the very important neurotransmitter called dopamine. When tyrosine is converted into dopamine, it is involved in the reward system. And this takes place in conjunction with other neurotransmitters and multiple brain regions, but this mostly takes place in the mesolimbic dopamine pathway and the mesocortical dopamine pathway. These pathways improve motivation and seeking reward. So norepinephrine, the other neurotransmitter that tyrosine is involved with, is involved with alertness, focus, attention span, and arousal. So dopamine and norepinephrine, when tyrosine is converted into them, support many activities in the brain, and this is just a few of them, but you'll see how important they are. Memory, sleep and awake regulation, paying attention and being focused, arousal, alertness, motivation for willingness and goal seeking, so seeking reward, which brings us back to that motivation, and reducing brain grogginess and brain fatigue. So tyrosine is commonly used to improve learning, memory, and alertness, and works especially well if used during stressful situations, like you didn't sleep well the night before, maybe the night before you had a wedding and you had a little too much to drink, maybe it's just really cold out and you played a lot of basketball and now you have to do your homework. It helps in those situations. So what is L-tyrosine in the first place? It's an amino acid. Proteins are made out of amino acids. So when you eat protein, you get some L-tyrosine. So when you eat yogurt and other dairy products, or meat, piece of chicken, fish, eggs, nuts, beans, oats, and wheat, you get some L-tyrosine. But you're really not getting enough to combat occasional fatigue or help during stressful situations. Then you can use a supplement. Now, when to use L-tyrosine? For mental performance. Research shows that taking tyrosine improves mental performance under stressful conditions. These include cold-induced stress or noise-induced stress, or, if you're studying for your LSATs or MCATs, whatever it might be. Memory. Research shows that taking tyrosine improves memory during stressful conditions. These include cold-induced stress or multitasking, or just, overload of the brain. Improving alertness following the loss of sleep. Taking tyrosine helps people who have lost a night's sleep stay alert for about 3 hours longer than they otherwise would, and they actually feel pretty good over these 3 hours. Also, early research shows that tyrosine improves memory and reasoning in people who are sleep deprived. For jet lag, I give people melatonin at bedtime and L-Tyrosine when they need to wake up, because melatonin helps reset your circadian rhythm, your body clock to go to sleep, and L-Tyrosine helps you wake up. In a different part of the brain known as the substantia nigra, dopamine is used for balance and muscle function. So dopamine is not absorbed into the brain, tyrosine is absorbed into the brain, it's converted into L-dopa, and L-dopa is then converted into dopamine. They use L-dopa in patients with Parkinson's disease to help with their stiffness and muscle tremors. Additionally, the body uses L-tyrosine to make thyroid hormone, and the adrenal glands use tyrosine to make hormones for fight or flight situations such as epinephrine, which is also called adrenaline. So let's go to some of the studies. Now, just to make it clear before I read these studies, tyrosine is not used in elderly people for brain energy or memory. Tyrosine is used in healthy adults who've just overdone it and their brain is fatigued, or they're doing just way too much work and they have too much input into their brain. That's what it's for. And you don't use it every day, you use it when it's needed. So here's the Journal of Psychiatric Research. It's the Institute of Psychological Research and Leiden Institute for Brain and Cognition over in the Netherlands, and the Center for Lifespan Psychology, the Max Planck Institute for Human Development in Berlin, Germany. And here's what they said. Tyrosine does seem to effectively enhance cognitive performance, particularly in short-term stressful situations and cognitively demanding situations. So like you're cramming in the study and you're tired. You're cramming for your boards. You're cramming for your finals. That's what it's for. So I would also use tyrosine if you played a sport or did a lot of exercise, but then you have to do some kind of cognitive task like study for a test or public speaking or having a meeting, etc. You can use tyrosine to give your brain a little bit of a boost. And you don't need that much. You could take a 500 milligram capsule and see if that's enough. It won't make you jittery. Now here's the University of Groningen in the Netherlands, their Department of Psychology, and also the School of Behavioral and Cognitive Neuroscience, University of Groningen in the Netherlands. It's the Pharmacological and Biochemical Behavior. That's the name of the journal. Here's what they said. They reviewed 15 human clinical trials, and they found that taking tyrosine helps your memory when you're under stress, when you're just cognitively overloaded, taking in too many things at once and stressed out, or like if the weather's making you really fatigued or you stayed out late at night. That's what they're saying. It's highly technical, but that's basically what they're saying. So tyrosine, you can keep it in your medicine cabinet all weekend long. You've been pushing the boundaries, you've been staying up too late, you've been doing too much. Monday morning you have to go to work or class or whatever it might be. Take 1 or 2 tyrosine and you'll feel fine. Let me give you an email address in case you have a question about anything I said. I'll give you my email, jhickey@invitehealth.com, jhickey@invitehealth.com. So thank you for tuning into the Invite Health Podcast. You can find all of our episodes for free wherever you listen to podcasts or by visiting invitehealth.com/podcast. Please subscribe. Please leave us a review. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Invite Health. And hope to see you another time on another episode of the Invite Health Podcast. And thank you so much for listening.